Hi, this is Pete, welcome to my channel, and this is the Moog Messenger, an analog monophonic synthesizer and actually the first major Moog product developed entirely under the ownership of InMusic. So this is definitely the beginning of a new era for the brand. In principle, I'm happy with this instrument, and I must admit that, like many others, I have become addictive to the new resonance bass compensation. But when I started to make my first sequencing experiments, I came across some strange feature of the built-in sequencer. Besides the usual note and velocity information, the sequencer is also able to record parameter changes from the panel. You are free to adjust one parameter per step that you select from the panel. But surprisingly, this does not work for discrete parameters. This means that it is not possible to record changes of the filter characteristics or the oscillator octave. Why that? Fortunately, the Midi implementation is excellent, and therefore I decided to ignore the internal sequencer and just use an external DAW for recording of parameter changes. This also removes the limitation that you can only change one parameter per step. But then I came across the next surprise. First, the good message. Parameter changes are recorded correctly, and when played back, the sound engine correctly responds to the recorded Midi CC messages. But what you hear is not what you see, because you see absolutely nothing. I will demonstrate this using the Midi capture function of Ableton Live. So that's the bad message. If you change any discrete parameters via Midi, these changes correctly affect the sound engine, but will not be indicated by the user interface. Say, the LEDs do not correctly show the actual state of the sound engine anymore. This is obviously a bug and not a feature. Because the last firmware update to version 1.08 did not remove this bug, I decided to write a concise report and submitted it via the Moog InMusic support request form. The response was really fast. A few hours later, I found a corresponding answer in my mailbox.
Hi Pete, thank you for reaching out. I'm sorry for the issue that you are encountering with your unit. I realize how inconvenient this can be, and I am here to assist you with finding a resolution to your case. As the firmware update seems to be the main suspect here, I would recommend the following. Once Messenger is connected to your computer, run the firmware updater program. Follow the on-screen instructions, and when finished, you may disconnect Messenger from your computer. Please refer to the following link for advice on performing a firmware update. Hope that helps. Please get back to me if you are still facing issues.
Was this a misunderstanding of my report? I immediately returned my response. Hi, the firmware update is not the point. As indicated in the support request form, I was able to update to the latest firmware, and I had no problems with the update. The described issue, the parameter LEDs not responding to parameter changes via Midi CC, was also present with the previous firmware version and remains in the current version. Best regards, Pete. The response came quickly again.
Hi Pete, thank you for getting back to me and providing the additional information. In order to align with consumer law in your country and your contract of sale, the warranty included with your product is held with your place of purchase. For this reason, we please ask that you contact them so they can help you find the quickest solution.
Okay, that's the technical support for a Moog synthesizer in 2025. First, they send you standard answers for common problems, and when you are not satisfied, they refer you directly to your local retailer. I understand that a support team that is responsible for a whole range of different brands has its limitations, but I actually expected an answer like the following.
Hi Pete, thank you very much for your bug report. I will forward your report to the responsible team and possibly they will come back to you if further questions arise.
And to be honest, I would have been satisfied with such an answer. Although, I must admit that I would have preferred something like that.
Hi Pete, thank you so much for your report. The programming team seems to have been asleep during development and completely overlooked forwarding the remote changes of the discrete sound parameters to the user interface. I will communicate this to the Moog department, so let's hope for a quick solution.
Of course, I would have been very happy with this answer, but apparently this is not standard business practice when it comes to technical support. However, Moog in Music 2025 actually seems to have replaced technical support with something else that feels a bit like brushing people off. Thank you very much, that's all I want to say for today. Please don't forget to subscribe, stay healthy and stay tuned.